podcast, we don't just talk about better smiles, we talk about better lives.
Welcome to another episode of the Better Dental Life podcast. I'm very excited for my guest today is Allison Horn. She's the Vice President of Marketing at Imagen Dental Partners. I'm so excited to have her on the show. She has a wealth of knowledge. She is the person I always turn to when I have any questions about marketing. And so, Allison, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so excited. So I want you maybe just first tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get to Imagen Dental Partners where you're at now? What's your background?
Yeah, so I have been in the healthcare space for over 25 years, and marketing specifically for the last 18 years of that. So started in operations, and used to file paper charts. Yes, I am that old to talk about paper charts and different scheduling systems before life was digital. But have spent the majority of my career on the medical side of healthcare, right? So orthopedics, neurology, spine, cancer treatments. And so spent quite a bit of time on that and transitioned to dental 4.5 years ago.
I love it. And so tell me a little bit about your role. Like, what exactly does that mean to be the Vice President of Marketing at Imagen?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I do and my team does is to support practices with acquiring patients, retaining patients, patient engagement, communication, and ensuring that the brand for each one of our practices, 113 practices as of today, are out there, right? So how can patients find the practices? What are the services that those practices offer? And are we able to book those patients? So we enable all of those things and make sure that we are an extension of a great patient experience for our house of brands, right? All of our practices have their own unique brand, and that's probably one of the most challenging things to do when you have a large dental dental partnership or DSO is managing 113 different brands.
Well, and right, because with Imagen, and I'm an Imagen partner as well. With Imagen, I have my own brand, my practice's brand, but I'm partnered with Imagen. So you have 113 different practice brands in different cities across the country that you are focusing on, and each one, I'm sure, has their unique challenges. And so you're really positioned in you're in a great position to speak to what mistakes we make, what we need to do to get ready to market as practices. And so I want to talk a lot about that, and maybe starting with what are mistakes that practices make when they decide, I need more new patients, so I'm going to start spending money on marketing?
Yeah, so that's we do a lot of prospective events. So as you joined Imagen, we have a lot of other doctors that we host what's called Imagine the Future, where they have an opportunity to learn about Imagen, but also the different departments. One of the first things that doctors say is, oh yeah, I get great patients, but I want more new patients, right? And that is often a misconception as to I just need new patients. And what we really take a step back on our role once we integrate with partners is assessing what their patient retention is, right? The patient base that they have right now, are they able to adequately take care of the existing patient base, lock that back door so it prevents people from leaving or trickling out to another dental provider? So if you're able to deliver best in class care from a dental perspective or oral health, your patients shouldn't want to go anywhere else, right? And so are we actually reappointing patients timely? Are they getting in for their recare appropriately based on your guys' diagnosis? That's like the first step that we do, right? And then we look at, the access to care. Can patients get in timely? So there's a whole host of ways to do that, right? But understanding what your patient retention is first and foremost. And you look at really your active patient base, your hygiene hours, that's where you really want to complement. Do we actually have the ability to take care of what we have before we start to go market, right? And then we look at access of care. Can you get a patient in within 7 days for a new patient appointment? Can you get hygiene appointments that are coming back in for, their cleaning within 10 days? Those are certain thresholds that we look at before we even consider a new patient acquisition campaign.
So as a dentist, and I'm looking at my schedule, because I may be thinking, hey, I want more new patients because I see some holes in my schedule, or I want to be busier. So I feel like there's access to care. So talk to me a little bit about that. Where's the disconnect in access to care where I think, hey, I've got space, but you looking in may say, you actually don't have space for new patients right now.
Yeah, so we look at depending on how each practice is set up, but most of like an adult prophy, right? About 60 minutes of time for a hygiene. And then new patients, depending, do they land on your schedule or do they land on the hygiene schedule? So anywhere from an hour to 90 minutes is typically what we see for a new patient visit. And we look at, is it optimized, right? So we do a lot of schedule optimization and templates. And, if you're open 8 to 5 and you're, take lunch from 12 to 1, and you have a 90-minute new patient appointment or a 90-minute SRP, is that really strategically going to fit from 8 to 12 and then 1 to 5? Probably not. So like simple things, tweaking of doing lunch from 8 to, it's 8 to 11:30 and your lunch is 11:30 to 12:30. And then you have so you're adding that 30-minute opportunity for the 90-minute blocks in the schedule. But we look at things that are going to be how many openings do you have, right? So if you're saying, I have openings, I can see it. Yeah, you might, but how's your annual patient retention? Are you actually getting the patients that are in your office back for recare timely, right? So we look at an 85% patient retention. Our practices are well above that, 86, 87% of the time, like I'm retaining 86 or 87% of their patient base annually. If you're not hitting that or you don't know that, that's something that you're going to want to start with is, where is my annual patient retention first? And if I still have gaps in my schedule, okay, great. I'm taking care of my patient base solid. We know that you're going to have natural attrition through patients moving away, insurance changing, whatever it may be. So we account for 10 to 15% of that attrition naturally. But your goal first and foremost is at minimum to get you above 85% annual patient retention. And then if there's still openings, does your schedule look good? And then we can start exploring different acquisition opportunities.
I like that. And so what would be the next steps? I've got access to care. I've created space for, maybe hired an extra hygienist, or I've created space to get them into hygiene. I have room to see the new patients. So that's important before we start, marketing. And then what's the next step?
Yeah. So when we look at campaigns, so for all of our practices, we take an approach that it's unique to each office, right? So, gone are the days that, you get all these practices and everybody gets the same amount of money, the same type of campaign, it's cookie cutter. I think that's one of the things that, differentiates Imagen is that we look at every single practice's unique needs and assess what is going to work in their geographic area. We partner with third-party agencies that allow us to look at it's called a grader. So we look at the geographic area and where patients live, what types of tools, digital tools or newspapers that they're engaging with that's going to convince them to make an informed decision, right? So like that's the first thing is understanding the geographic area around a practice. Then we layer on the types of campaigns that we want to look at. What's the spend? Do we want to do direct mail? Contrary to what people believe, digital or direct mail is not dead. It does work in certain areas, a lot of great rural areas, maybe not in downtown Chicago, but it does certainly work in rural areas that, some people still like physical mail, right? So, how I explain it is whether we need to build an extension of, to in a house or a full house. We have a full toolkit that we can apply digital marketing, direct mail, brand awareness, all sorts of stuff. So everything from the top of the funnel all the way down to I know what I want to make a decision and who I'm partnering with, like which dentist I'm selecting. So we look at that and then we launch a campaign for what we're trying to accomplish, how many new patients we're trying to secure and hit a new patient goal. But we also layer in AI, which is a little bit of a newer concept. Obviously, AI is newer, but we leverage it in a way that we can actually understand how the campaigns are performing. So we layer on a tool that listens to all of the phone calls that come in to understand where are new patients coming from and are they being converted? Oftentimes, I talk to doctors that are interested in learning about this, and it's you only know what's landing on your schedule. Right? You're in the back of the operatories taking care of patients, your front desk is scheduling them or they're booking online. You only know the new patients that are on your schedule and what you're seeing them for. What you don't know is what you're turning away and what you're missing. Not ill-intended by the front desk or whoever the team member is scheduling, but just the simple fact that Maybe it didn't work. Maybe the insurance wasn't the right mix, right? But if you don't know that, we can't fix that, right? So how do we have objection handling? How do we have coaching with the front desk? How do we take those opportunities and make them patients and, treatment opportunities, not necessarily just, I spent money to attract these patients and I'm turning them away. So we partner with a company that listens to every single phone call that we run campaigns on. So it's a requirement of all of our campaigns. So we understand what the ROI is on the investment and what types of new patients are coming in. Do we need a pivot campaign? So it gives us some directional information as to whether or not we need to negate keywords. We need to target different areas and if it's effective. And then we share those results with our partners, right? That's something that they're like, I had no clue. Yeah, you shouldn't have any clue, right? You should be able to trust the marketing team to be able to work with your front desk and your office managers to be able to coach and provide feedback to increase your conversion rate. So we look at conversion rate, reasons not booked, staff performance, which has been great, really transparent information to understand how well your team is performing and what opportunities you're able to coach with them, right? And then we look at the success ultimately is like your practice growing from new patients and what types of patients and what your new patient value is that's going to continue to drive business into your practice.
So the dentists that I coach, they like the term marketing. That sounds really safe for them. When I start using the term sales, they start feeling kind of icky, like that's, used car salesman. And then I teach them that, hey, everything is sales. I sell my wife on what TV show we should watch tonight. And it's like sales is in everything we do all throughout the day. And once they realize that sales isn't a yucky thing, then they're more comfortable with that concept, that idea. And the reality is we have, as our receptionists and our office managers are not trained salesmen. They're not a trained sales team. So having other tools to teach them and coach them through that, I'm sure is amazing. And I'm curious, because I don't know the answer to this. But it's probably a little bit surprising. I'm curious what that conversion rate is. Do you have any idea? Like when patients call, is that shocking when the dentists find out, hey, you're only 1 in 5 are actually getting on your schedule, or 1 in 3, or?
Yeah, so it is. We have just recently started launching this technology into practices that are exploring marketing, right? Maybe we're not ready to pull that trigger on the paid aspect, but what we're starting to look at is about 90 days before we would ultimately make that decision is leveraging this technology to understand what they're doing right now, right? And maybe you don't need paid marketing. Maybe we just need to optimize the training and scheduling, working with the team, the front desk team. And you kind of are spot on. The front desk team is like the only role that really doesn't have sales training that needs to. They are convincing somebody to schedule an appointment with your office. And so that is something that we provide is objection handling and coaching and opportunities there. But when we look at the AI side, we want to understand what you guys are doing now and where we have opportunities. The conversion rate, we have a target of 50% conversion. Now, the caveat there is that's just like total conversion rate. And our practices perform a lot better, but you also have to take out the opportunities of insurances like the Medicaid and Medicare that our practices just simply don't take. And so when you take out and strip out the online bookings that are 100% converted, right? Because they're self-appointing themselves.
Right.
We're closer to a 70 to 75% conversion rate, which is great, right? For practices. Nobody's going to be at 100%, but some of our best performing practices, even, just without stripping out anything, is 72%. So if you strip it out, they're a lot higher, 90 to 95% converted, and they just do a really good job. One of the biggest things that I will share is your hours of operations dramatically impact your ability to convert. That practice that I was referencing is open on Sundays. What dental practice is open on Sundays that you know of?
Right.
Most of them are open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, hopefully a Thursday. A lot of them are closed on Fridays. And so you have a real missed opportunity when you just don't open hours that are convenient for patients, right? People work and they have to, step away from their work to get their cleaning or get their treatment. And so if you're able to conveniently offer them hours that they don't have to do that, chances are you're probably going to grow your practice a lot quicker.
I find that interesting. Or and weekend appointments, there's always been the fear in our office that patients will forget because they're on vacation mode. and
Yeah,
and
for
and not come in.
sure. Yeah, for
Right?
sure. And that's the hardest thing is like dentists are like, well, I didn't go to school to be open every single day, but
Yeah.
it is something to think about. Look at your competitors around your area and see who's open and what hours. So if every other office is open on a Friday and you're closed, you're missing the mark, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to be like a
Right.
high level cosmetic dentist that you're very sought after, right? You're not competing essentially to be able to pull those kind of hours, but little tweaks here and there, right? Some of our practices are open till 7, and it's not about always about hours, but you got to be creative in where you're creating demand and flexibility for patients to come in. So you got to meet your patients where your patients need to be met. And ultimately, that is going to be kind of the pivotal change for you.
Now, is the AI the old way, what we would have done, 5 years ago before AI recording our phone calls would have been a little spreadsheet, and we ask every patient, "How did you hear about us?" And then we
Yeah.
like mark the ledger, right? And
Mhm.
keep track that way. So this is all doing that automatically. So there's no more Excel spreadsheet,
Yep.
no more kind of manually tracking where they're coming in, so we can see where the dollars are working.
Y- Yes, the AI is great because it tells you exactly where they came from and exactly what they searched to find you, right? So I searched root canal, I searched cosmetic dentist near me. We're able to track it down to that level. And what channel was it? Google, Yahoo, Bing? Did they come from social media? It's really sophisticated in a way that we can explore that, right? Attribution from healthcare is really difficult. You can't retarget, remarket to anybody. Uh, we're really big on HIPAA and PHI protection. And so we sometimes our dentists are like, why do you do that? Well, because I come from the medical side, it's even more stringent. And
Sure.
I'm just trying to protect our practices, right, from any potential violation. And so we are very risk adverse that we make sure that we know where patients are coming from, but in a very compliant way. Uh, we still ask, how did you hear about us, right? Because just because they came from a Google sponsored ad uh, doesn't mean that that's how they heard from us. It's one additional channel and one additional touch point that they made. But sometimes they were referred by a family or friend and they're like, you need to go see, Dr. Mark Davis. They Google it and they happen to land on something that maybe was engagement
Right.
for us, but they heard from a family or friend or coworker, right? So we want to capture that. All of our practices have digital forms. So it's really nice that when we send out a new patient becomes our patient, we send an automated welcome email with forms that actually collect that information. And then we cross-reference it with the practice management system and make sure it's recorded in addition to what we're looking at. So it's as close as we can get from an attribution, but it is one of the most challenging things in marketing in the healthcare space is attribution and accurate, right? Because you're relying on people completing that information, at least from what's in the practice management system or, an Excel spreadsheet, like you mentioned. But it's something that we look at very closely.
So now, kind of going through a progression, a practice they have access to care, they've closed the back door, so they're not losing patients
Mhm.
out the back. They've got the systems in place. It looks like they're ready for marketing. We've got the AI set up. The front desk team is trained, and so now we want to start, some type of marketing campaign. And we look at we could focus on internally asking patients for referrals, which hopefully we're already doing. We've
Yep.
got, website and search engine optimization, and then like paid Google ads,
Mhm.
social media ads, or mailers. So maybe kind of step me through the hierarchy. Like when do you decide what to do and what do you do first and what tends to be more effective?
Yeah, so I think it's a lot of things run in parallel, right? And that's like the important thing. It's not like do this and then try this. It's I'm going to try multiple things at once. So you talked about reputation management earlier. So when our practices start, that's the first thing that we turn on. If people don't know that you have happy patients writing positive Google and Facebook reviews, they aren't going to find it. And a lot of our partners come in, they're like, with another patient engagement tool and they're like, well, they have their own and they're going to drive it to their patient, a patient engagement system that if you ever left that patient engagement system and those reviews are tied up with that tool, publicly, nobody knows, right? So our goal is to drive patients to where other patients are going to find them. So you think of Google, you think of Yelp, and you think of Facebook, right? Those are where a lot of people look at who are top rated dentists in the area. So that's the first thing that we do. So 2 hours after every appointment, not every appointment, but once they fill out the review, essentially it stops after that, but we don't need to ask them for the same review every 6 months that they're in. But after they come in, 2 hours after their visit, we ask them, rate your experience. And we've been able to substantially grow our partners' brand presence on, listings, if you will, online. So that's the first thing, is making sure that your listings are accurate, your phone numbers are accurate, and you're tracking those in a aggregated way, and also responding to reviews. One of the missed opportunities for a lot of practices is they get reviews, they don't engage with them, right? And Google likes when you engage with your patients or your clients. So we have tools that we respond to every single one of our practices reviews, good and bad, right? We look at the bad
Right.
ones more in detail if there was one, and we investigate it and respond to it in a HIPAA compliant way. So we look at those. And then when we look at the organic side of stuff, we look at, that listings management helps with that, but is our practices websites, are they optimized with keywords in which you want patients to find you, right? Dentist near me, maybe they're a big clear aligner practice, or they want to do veneers or implants. We look at all those things to be able to help create that great content, create freshness to your website, right? A lot of practices that join us have websites that are outdated, right? So we'll help support that. So we really want to baseline our reputation management and our brand presence online for our practices. So those are like the two foundational things, I would say. Once you have those, then we start looking at your retention. Let's assume that's great. Your active patient base is continuing to come in. You're engaging with them regularly. We're doing monthly newsletters. We're posting on social media. If you're not posting on social media, you're missing the mark right now. It is hard for practices, right? Because I'm taking care of patients, but if, you make it a healthy competition with your team, it's always really great to see that. And then when we start looking at the patient acquisition side, that's where we get the fun things going, right? Like, okay, everything foundationally is done. Our patients are satisfied. They're returning for care. We then stair step. So this is the only thing in which we would actually start stair stepping. How much investment do we need to make? First and foremost, you mentioned patient referrals. So we call them internal referrals, share a smile campaign. Do you have existing patients that are willing to refer family and friends, right? That's like your NPS score, right? Your net promoter score. It's both employees, but also patients. If you have happy patients that are willing to refer their family and friends, you're doing something right. And you need to capitalize on that, right? So healthy campaigns encouraging patients to do that if appropriate in your area and your state allows it, incentivizing and holding contest or referral giveaways. Again, every state has different requirements. Federally, we have requirements, but also locally, states have different requirements if you can incentivize existing and new patients. So we take that into consideration. But if you have the opportunity and you don't have any restrictions, then we want to be able to leverage something that's essentially free, right? Simply asking somebody to refer a family or friend goes a long way. And is really impactful for your practice because you're doing something right. After that's kind of dialed, then we start to layer in the paid campaigns. Paid campaigns range, as I mentioned, direct mail, digital, so your Google, Yahoo, Bing, your social ads on Facebook or Instagram. There's TV, OTT, CTV, like all those things that have the opportunity to be able to put commercials out on streaming devices. Again, brand awareness. So you think about the funnel, right? The marketing funnel.
Right.
You want a lot of our stuff is down at the bottom of the funnel because those are conversion. But the higher the funnel and the funnel that you go up is brand awareness. If people don't know about you, they don't know to choose you. So if you have the opportunity and the means to be able to create tactics that are higher up the funnel, you're still going to convert them, but the more people that know about you, whether don't love billboards, but let's use billboards as an example. If you're in a small town and it's like the only billboard there, you want to be able to leverage, this is who I am, and then you're also serving them digital ads. It's that constant top of mind. I often joke,
Mhm.
I might be shopping. This is more of a retargeting, but I might be shopping on Nordstrom. I found these shoes that I love, and I was like, I don't need them. Well, guess what? Over the next couple days, I'm getting served that ad, and I'm like, it's a sign I need these shoes. Well, no. They saw and tracked me on cookies and are serving me that ad to convince me to buy it. Again, top of mind, kind of refreshing. We can't do that in healthcare, but that's the type of thing. The more places that you're in, social media and digital and direct mail and all sorts of stuff to meet with your customer where they are, is going to increase your likelihood of being able to convert those. So, marketing is a shiny object and is really fun to think about, but there's a lot of planning that goes into it. And not one tactic is appropriate for every single practice. We have to assess each individual needs and goals, right? Ultimately.
Now, do you try to balance, because there's two types of marketing ads, one which is more, like you said, a brand awareness. So
Mhm.
I'm in a small town, so that means like I've got a banner at the football field or in the gym at the high school, right? That just says, "Hey, I sponsor this team. I'm a
Yeah.
community partner. This is who I am." And then there's a flyer that says, "Call now for, 60% off of a whitening." That's like a
Yeah.
call to action kind of marketing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so do you try to balance both of those? Is one more foundational and the other kind of you start to use afterwards?
Yeah, for sure. So again, it goes back to the goals of what the partner needs, our partner practice. So we have practices that want to grow their implant business, right? Like they're like, I'm good with new patients. They're gonna like organically and naturally find me. But what I need is being able to tell people that I do implants and I do cosmetic surgery, same day smile makeovers. Those are higher level campaigns. Obviously, they're higher producing in revenue, but also there's a fine balance of you may naturally get those patients through the hygiene. I just need a cleaning, and you're diagnosing and identifying what patients are unhappy about their smile. Maybe they need some assistance, they need a crown or they need an implant, whatever it may be. That naturally happens. But if you're targeted marketing and trying to grow a certain service line or treatment offering, that is certainly things that we explore. So we have a mixed bag across our campaigns that are running right now. But those tactics, like you said, 60% off a teeth whitening. We try to focus on the ones that are higher dollar revenue. So, if it's $500 off an implant or $500 off a clear aligners, whatever it may be, we have to know that the goals that that practice is trying to achieve. And then we develop those campaigns around that. Most of our practices just want new patients because they have access to care. And then we're starting to get the practices that maybe are a little bit more restricted on access to care, but they want the higher, treatment offerings and production. So we can focus on those. So it is a mixed bag. But again, it ties all the way back to what that practice needs in that area.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
I want you to think about some of your bigger marketing challenges. So what have you had,
Mm.
like where you're like, "Oh man, this was a big challenge," or this was something that was kind of a little bit different than your typical marketing approach?
Ooh,
Put you on the
let's
spot.
see. Yeah, no, I love it. I think the biggest challenge is not necessarily on the marketing side. It's, the old adage of I can bring the horse to water, but I can't make that horse drink the water, right? We can bring the leads, but I think you have to really take a reflection on your team, right? Do they have the ability to convert those patients? Do they have the training, the objection handling that they can overcome to be able to get that patient on your schedule? And if your answer is no, call us. If your answer is no, then you really need to take a step back and say, okay, how do I just get my team comfortable with talking about the procedures or why we're different than the dentists down the road, right? What's your value proposition? Well, all of our doctors are digital dentists, right? They focus on digital dentistry, same day crowns, things that make it patient experience focused. And if you're not able to convey that and promote that to the patients that are calling, so I would say that the biggest challenge, and we deal with it every single day, is not the campaigns not performing. It's the ability to convert them and the front desk staff to staff it, be comfortable talking about the procedures and understanding the importance of the campaign, right? There's real dollars that are being spent to attract these patients or prospective patients. And every patient that you turn away is lost dollars, right? And so when they understand that, and the doctor, like the owner doctor, really has those conversations with the team that, hey, I'm launching this campaign. I need you guys in it to win it type of thing, right? They need to feel that like same investment and ownership in trying to help these patients.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, those has been so fun visiting. I've learned a lot.
Awesome.
I hope everyone listening has too, and maybe has a little bit of direction in kind of a systematic approach to how they want to start their marketing and what is their next step in their office. So I really appreciate coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.